I'm sure this kind of session will produce resolutions that will impact on the economic policies of our leaders. If we look around, there's hardly any part of the country where poverty is not pervading. Unless we want to continue to be deceiving ourselves. Although it is not the desire of Almighty Allah that there won't be people who are rich while some are not as that rich, but no matter what, if the place is managed, if the state is managed effectively in accordance with the dictates of Almighty Allah, even the so-called poor will have the necessities of life fulfilled without much stretch. For instance, the institution of Zakat is part of the antidote of the Almighty Allah to ensure redistribution of income between the rich and the poor, such that even those poor yesterday who had become beneficiaries of Zakat will in some time, if Allah blesses it, find themselves in the position of having to pay Zakat to others. And if the society goes on like that, there will be love, there will be comfort, and there will be less mystery. Our economic policies, I am sure our lecturers will look into that. Are we as Muslims, are we fulfilling our obligations in line with the dictate of Allah that we should pay Zakat? And if some pay, are these proceeds channeled properly as dictated by the provisions of the Holy Quran? In some climes, for instance, in some Arabian countries or Islamic countries, I think 2022, that was the first time I had the opportunity of passing through the new Jeddah International Airport. I was delighted to be informed that that airport, the new Jeddah International Airport, was a product of Sukuk, which is Islamic way of financing. If our government embraces this kind of approach, definitely the country will be better for it if we shun politics. I think the panel should look into that. I remember that in the 70s, when I was in the bank, even as bank officials and even managers, you don't have to touch dollars. What used to be the means of transaction then was traveler checks. The most popular author of that traveler check was Thomas Cook, a company in UK. You only go to the bank. That time when you bring 400 naira, you take the equivalent of $500. That is when our naira had not been bastardized. And it is traveler check they will give you. When you get to the country where you are going, you will take the traveler checks to their bank and they will convert it to the currency of that country. Now in Nigeria, not only do we exchange dollars, we have all, particularly the powers that be, more or less converted dollar to our legal tender. If you go to political gladiators, you will see them spending dollars as if they are in America. The way we deal with dollars here, even if the American president does that, I'm afraid he's likely to end up with jail. Again, this interest banking. I'm happy some of those who will talk with us today is the regional manager of the bank. Some years back, we never had the opportunity of patronizing non-interest bank. Now we have it. I will also want the lecturers, particularly Dr. Amoo Alaga, to look into the implication of some Muslims, most of us, preferring, even in spite of the existence of a number of non-interest banking or alternative finance system, as they call it, we refuse to patronize this. We prefer to go to interest earning banks. I remember some years back, I was talking to a prominent businessman in this part of the country. I happened to be handling some matters for him, and he was talking to me about his investment. I said, sir, why don't you think of, he said, I have decided to fix so much. I said, what? If you have so much like that to fix, why fixing it in interest bank? Why don't you go to this emerging non-interest banking? He said, my brother, let me do the one I'm used to. What is the implication of some of us now having options of patronizing non-interest banking and then choosing to go to interest-yielding bank? In those days when there was no opportunity other than the interest-yielding bank, I think there could be excuse. But now that we have alternatives, I want you to please look into it. Now, once the issue of the kind of finance we run is embraced, the Islamic system is embraced by the government, by the powers that be in the country, I am sure our economic problem will be substantially reduced. I want to tell you that it is we Muslims that hardly appreciate what Almighty God has given to us. I have opportunity to be part of the commencement of this Jaiz bank when they were doing mobilization. When the bank was about to come up, I think they said the initial capital base was to be 2 billion. Along the line, the Muslims in the country, the north and the west, you know, when we talk about mainly, although we have Muslims in the southeast, south-south, but they are very infinitesimal minority. That remains the truth. But mainly from the north and the southwest, they were struggling to muster 2 billion naira. That was when President Abajodo, I think, came on board. Maybe Soludo, I can't remember who was the governor of Central Bank then. But they wrote out a policy that the capital base of this non-interest bank should be 25 billion naira as at that time. That was what gave rise to mobilization committee. I was privileged to be part of it. And surprisingly, when shares were sold, the people that had majority shareholdings are the Igbo people from the southeast of the country. Because they realize, I'm sure the regional manager of Jaiz Bank will either confirm or fault me. They realize that, you know, they are very astute in business. They realize that it makes a lot of sense to patronize a bank, take loan from a source, where if you are given 10 million naira to trade, you will only be required to return that 10 million, than patronizing the one that will extract 25 million for your 10 million, which may not even exhaust your indebtedness. And this explains why most of the major shareholders are Igbos, apart from our brothers from the north. And even they take loans, but we Muslims from this side, we prefer to continue to patronize what Allah himself has called haram. It is not my duty to give the lecture. The people who are to give lecture are there. I only made mention of this as part of introduction. I wish you a very beneficial advantage from the lecture. And I wish the lecturers God's guardians to do justice to the program. And I pray that whatever suggestion they are able to come up with will be beneficial to our country at large. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Takbir. Thank you very much, sir, for the brilliant chairman's remark, which has set this stage for today's presentation. All right, while the chairman was giving his remark, we had quite a number of guests who came in. They are distinguished people, so a new list is being passed to me. I'd like to recognize first my Lord Honorable Justice Teslim Olashukwu from Federal High Court. Selim Olashukwu. This list has Teslim, this one has Selim. Apologies, sir. Honorable Justice Selim Olashukwu from Federal High Court. Yeah. Thank you very much for coming. Then I have my Lord Honorable Justice S.A. Oke from Osun State High Court. You're welcome, sir. My Lord Honorable Justice Akonwo M.K. from, I think, Osun State High Court as well, from the paper here, if that's correct. You're welcome, ma'am. My Lord Honorable Justice Ganiyat Lawal from Osun State. We have lots of Osun people here today. You are welcome, ma'am. I have Professor Kamal Daoud, former president of MULAN, if he's around here. You are welcome, sir. Thank you very much. I have the representative of the Attorney General of Oyo State in person of N.A. Abiola. You are welcome, sir. I have Professor Ridwan Matazu, Vice Chancellor of Al-Uda University. You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much. I have Alhaja S.A. Oyediran. I think this is a registrar of High Court of Justice, Oyo State. You're welcome, ma'am. Once I have other dignitaries passed to me, I'll recognize them and then we do the necessary thing. Now, we're about going into the major conversation for this morning. Just to build on what the chairman has told us, there is a concept of M3. M for mom, 3 as figure 3 in central bank parlance. It's a way of describing the total money supply or the total money in circulation in any given economy. For Nigeria, as at November last year, or you can say December 2023, we had 93.6 trillion naira in circulation. That increased to 95 trillion naira as at January 2024. So you may begin to ask yourself, of that chunk of money in circulation, how much of it do we Muslims own? You may equally go as far as valuing the Nigerian Stock Exchange and say, what is the total capitalization of the NGX? As at November 2023, the total capitalization stood at 72.5 trillion naira. For those who do not know what that means, that's a way of saying if you look at all the publicly listed companies in Nigeria and you are checking the value of their stock, If you add everything together, you will get 72.5 trillion. These are companies that are in the public, not privately owned company. So of the 72.5 trillion naira total capitalization, what chunk of that do we own as Muslims? If you're looking at the total volume of commercial bank loans given out to Nigerians, as at December 2023, it stood at 44 trillion naira. And based on our faith, we say, that's haram, we are not interested in that because it's incompatible with our faith. But implicitly it means some other people are being given financial privileges against us. What portion of that 44 trillion naira commercial loan goes to Muslims? And how do we edge not having access to such funds? How do we compensate for not having access to such funds? When you look at the population of Nigeria, we are said to be about 223 million, 50% of whom are below the age of 18 years and 4 months. So that shows that we have a very young population. Even if you extend it to like 22, 23 years, most of them are still pretty jobless. So of the remaining 50%, it is estimated that 42 million Nigerian adults are unbanked, meaning they don't have access to banking facilities. How many of these 42 million adult Nigerians are Muslims? We can guess what the numbers will be. The general notion is that Muslims are disenfranchised from having access to commercial or financial products in Nigeria's financial industry. I recall during COVID-19, CBN came up with an intervention fund of about 53 billion naira to support Muslim businesses because of non-access or not having access to commercial products because of usury. How much of the intervention fund were we able to have access to as Muslims? Were we able to negotiate all of the bottlenecks around having access to that 53 billion naira from CBN? These are some of the topics that we want our distinguished speakers to talk through. So I'll invite the regional general manager or regional manager of Jaiz Bank, Southwest and Kwara to come and talk to us in about 30 minutes. Let me check my timing correctly. I think I'm wrong. You've been given 15 minutes, but I'll make it 20. So you have 20 minutes to hit the point on the head and tell us what is the relevance of faith-based financial services to national development. You have the stage, the regional manager of Jaiz Bank, Southwest, Kwara. Tekbir.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربي يسر لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. I want to rely on the existing protocol. The chairman of this occasion, His Excellency Alhaji Muhammad, Executive Governor of Niger State. The chief host, His Excellency Governor Oluseyi Makinde, and all the dignitaries here present, and all my lords. Once again, I greet you with the best form of greeting. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm here before you, privileged to speak about the topic relevance of faith-based financial services to national development. And we've been given some information about the supply of money in Nigeria currently at about 95 trillion naira. The capitalization of the country at about 72 trillion, and about 44 trillion naira facilities or loans given by banks in Nigeria. In all of this, where do Muslims stand? And I have 20 minutes to talk about all of this. So, I hope the slides is also going to be displayed. Okay, the topic of the day again, relevance of faith-based financial services to national development. Okay, so while we're still looking at how that can be projected so that the audience can see what we're talking through, I would like to go first with some of the major popular quotes that we all are familiar with. In year 2000, President Olusegun Obasanjo was credited to have said, and I quote, "If you ask me what that worst thing in the world is, I would have said it is compound interest." He said further, all that we had borrowed up until 80s was around $5 billion. And we have paid $16 billion up to year 2000, and we are being told, and we are being told we're still owing 28 billion. Then we need to quickly do some arithmetics. We borrow $5 billion, we have paid $16 billion, and yet we are to settle $28 billion. So in the first instance, a country that is as rich as paying out $16 billion, why do you go and borrow $5 billion? Such are the evil of interest in our recent time. Because of my time, because I have 23 slides and I've been given 20 minutes, so some of my slides will go for less than 1 minute. Also, the governor of Central Bank also talked about the entire economy of the world is also scouting for alternatives to advance the danger and difficulty that is associated with the risk of financial contagion. The kind of economy we practice here, that is commingled, conventional, predominantly, and faith-based, in most times absorbs shock from other economies because of what we practice. Hence, there's need for the country to also look at alternative to the conventional financial services practice in Nigeria. And that's why I'm so happy, and I must thank and commend the MULAN, Muslim Lawyers Association of Nigeria, for coming up with this particular topic. What is the relevance of faith-based financial services to national development? It's important for us to understand what is faith-based financial services. We must also know what is national development, what are the connecting lines between these two, and we now bring it down to specifics. It's important for us to know that what we call faith-based financial services is nothing but what we can call Islamic finance or financial services today. And when we say Islamic financial services, we're only referring to such financial activities that derive its concept foundation from the tenets and principles of Sharia. Predominantly noted among these financial services are banking, insurance company, capital managers or capital management companies, among many others. But when we're talking about faith-based financial services, we should understand that the history comes from Abrahamic faiths. And when we talk about Abrahamic faiths, we talk about Islam, we talk about Christianity, we talk about Hinduism, Buddhism, and all the zim we know in this world. It is pertinent to note that among all these other faiths, the only constructive structure for Islamic financial services that exists here today is Islamic financial services, from which we have Islamic Bank. And in Nigeria today, we have Jaiz Bank, we have Lotus Bank, we have Taj Bank, and Alternative Bank, among others. What is faith-based financial service? Like I said earlier, is the Sharia compliance financial system, not just because it is interest-free, financial system that it is eviscerated its religious value. Hence, we must understand that Sharia itself has some objective that is called maqasid al-shari'i. And what does maqasid al-shari'i want to achieve? It predominantly presents the following. According to Ibn al-Qayyim, says Sharia is all justice, kindness, common good, wisdom, and anything that departs from justice to injustice, anything that goes away from common good to harm, anything that departs from wisdom to frivolities, then it is not Sharia. Therefore, the very objective of Sharia is to promote the well-being of the people, which lies in safeguarding the following. One, Sharia wants to safeguard our faith, because Quran said, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Sharia wants to safeguard our life, because Quran and Allah has dictated that you shall not kill any soul unjustly. Sharia wants to protect our intellect. Sharia wants to protect our wealth. Sharia wants to protect and promote our common prosperity. And this is according to Imam Ghazali. When you look at all this maqasid al-shari'i, it aligns with the SDG, which is the Sustainable Development Goals. It is therefore fair to say that Sharia and Islamic financial services derive its jurisprudence from Al-Quran, which is the divine book revealed by Allah, from the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from Ijma, which is the consensus of the scholars, and Akiyas. It is also fair for us to mention that anything that is called faith-based financial services must comply with ethics. It must be ethical. And when we say ethical, it must be devoid of any harm, anything that can bring disorder to society, such as tobacco, alcohol, gambling, and all whatnot that we all know. It must also conform with equity, where profit sharing and loss bearing, there's also a principle that is known as al-gunmu bil-gurmi. Liability follows reward. So if you don't take risk, you don't have any liability, then reward cannot come. Then it must also be developmental, where the real sector of economy will impact it. And for every faith-based financial service, or what we know as Islamic financial services today, it is always asset-backed. And that is why in banks, every facility we do, there must be an underlying asset. What Islamic finance is not. A faith-based financial services or Islamic finance is not Islamization. It is not here to Islamize anyone. Even though it derived its sources, its principle, its foundation from Sharia, anybody can use this, anybody can enjoy it. It's a model, it's a business, it's a solution that caters for everyone, irrespective of your religion, race, or background. In the UK, in the US, in Switzerland, Australia, Germany, France, Singapore, and many other Christian-dominated countries, yet we have Islamic finance. It's also pertinent to mention that in World Bank, it is not only a Christian, but a Nigerian Christian who heads the Islamic financial department in the World Bank. So, if that can happen, does that make the person a Muslim? No. So, Islamic finance is not to Islamize. Another point that is important that we must note also is that Islamic finance or faith-based financing is not charity, it's not sadaqah. Yes, Islamic financial institution needs to be competitive, productive and viable, profitable. Islamic finance is interest-free, but not profit-free, not dividend-free. In fact, when Quran was also forbidding the riba, Quran mentioned in Quran 2, verse 275 and 276 and 278 that ahallallahu al-bay'a wa harrama riba. Wallahu yurbitu ahallallahu al-bay'a wa harrama riba. Hence, Islamic financial institution can do buy and sell, and they make profit with instruments like murabaha, salam, istisna. Islamic financial institution also engages in such services as money transfer, insurance, letter of credit, guarantees, debit cards, safe custody, fee-based activities. Islamic financial institution also engages in lease, which is also adopted through Ijara Muntahiya Bitamlik. Islamic financial institution also form partnership, which is called Musharaka. Islamic financial institution also manage wealth, which is called Wakala Bi Doman. Islamic financial institution also manage deposits, which is also called Wadiya. Here are the Islamic financial services contracts. If you don't see it in trading, you will see it in investment contracts, or will rather be a supporting contract. For trade, we have lease, we have Ijara Munfa, and we have Ijara Muntahiya Bitamlik. We have sale, Murabaha, which is purely buy and sell. We have Salam, which is forward sales. And we have Istisna, which is also to bring to existence what does not exist before, such as building of aircraft, construction of roads, bridges, halls, and all whatnot. Investments in Mudaraba. Fund managers, fund owners can come together and have a mutual beneficial contract where the Rabbul Mal gives money to fund manager who is Mudarib here, and at the end of the day, they both share profits at a pre-agreed ratio. And at the same time, Musharaka can as well be applied to that, which among a lot of very numerous challenges confronting us, some of these contracts can solve those problems. Supporting contracts like Kafala, that is bank guarantee, Al-Wadiya, which is safe custody, and Wakala, which is agency, also are part of supporting contract. Anywhere you find financial services here, they must be without these 5 cardinal forbidding principles. 1, they must not include or involve riba, which is generally known as interest. They must be far away from al-maisar, which is gambling. There shouldn't be anything like garar there, which is constructive ambiguity or uncertainty. Dealing in harmful or unlawful activity, no matter how profitable some ventures can be, as much as it is attributable to giving harm to humanity, Islamic finance would distance itself from this. Unjust enrichment and unfair exploitation, such like many of these oil and gas dealers today feels Dangote can release petrol at any time, and I don't know how much it's going to sell. Then I don't need to import now. Whether people suffer, whether they don't suffer, well, my profit is what matters to me. Islamic finance or faith-based financial services should not be involved in anything like this. Comparison between a rational consumer in conventional and Islamic financial service. This is very important for us to know where we fall and where we should be. Ethical consideration. For a conventional, typical capitalist, my profit is what is important. Every other thing can go to bed, can go to hell. As long as I make profits, I'm okay. But for Islamic financial consumer, you must consider what is lawful, what is not lawful, and everything must be in line with Sharia. Investment decision. Primarily, it is on the forces of demand and supply. as the market potential dictates. Here, investment decisions are made in accordance with Sharia principle, permissibility of investment, and their ethical implication. Principle and guidelines. Yes, conventional banks are also regulated with BOFIA, CBN, NDIC, and the rest of them, but it is not entrenched in there the principle and tenet, especially the Maqasid al-Shari'i, and that is why they have not been giving us the desired outcome. But in Islamic finance, beyond the governance, the corporate governance, the code of conduct and ethics, we are also regulated by Sharia, which is a principle that determines how we fare in this world with blessings of Allah and how we are going to be accountable in hereafter. It is pertinent that there's no contract that you must go into that you must not understand it. But Sharia is even more clearer, where Allah mentioned in the longest verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, when you are going into any contract, it must be written. There must be witness, and those who are witnesses must remind themselves when there are not men available, you have one man, get two women, and all of those details that Sharia has given us about understanding what form of contract we should go into. Risk management. In Sharia, in Islamic or faith-based finance, there is a risk-sharing mechanism where both investor and fund user or fund manager, they share risk and reward. Not just the creditor continue to get richer, get fatter, and the debtor continue to live under the weather. National development. My fathers, my mothers, my brothers and sisters, I can't stand here and be telling us about what national development is. But I borrow just some of the 5 key objectives of sustainable development goal, which goes that for a nation to be considered as being developed, we must have these 5 objectives. Economic growth. There must be stimulated economic must be stimulated for growth, investment, innovation, and productivity. The second one is poverty alleviation. Yet, we mentioned about how much capitalization we have in the country, how much cash are in supply, how much loans banks have given out. Nigeria is still one of the poorest countries in the world. Social inclusion. Promoting social inclusion by providing access to education, health, basic service for all citizens is the third objective of sustainable development goal. Infrastructural development. All of us know this, that it's important, and where our country is, we can all see. Environmental sustainability. These are the major objectives. Once these 5 are present, we say a nation is developed. Then, the major bone of contention of today, what is the relevance of faith-based financial services to national development? How has faith-based financial services contributed to national development? Why must we all turn to faith-based financial services? We have looked at 5 major parameters also to measure the 5 objectives of sustainable development goal. Economic growth. We have used impact on the real sector of the economy. Like I mentioned, there is no facility or financing that will come for a Sharia compliance financial institution that must not have a particular asset underlying. There must be an asset. Financial institutions or Sharia or faith-based financial services do not offer cash, because there's a principle that says cash or money is a medium of exchange, nothing more, nothing else. It doesn't have any other intrinsic value. When anybody is hungry here, you have money in your pocket. You can't put the money in your mouth and chew. You have to go and look for food, and you exchange your money with the food, then you get satisfaction from the food. Hence, Islam does not consider that money has any use other than medium of exchange. Therefore, if you go to a bank to collect loan and they give you cash, you have not gotten any benefits. You have just gone there to enslave yourself. Like President Obasanjo said, we've gone out to get $5 billion, we paid $16 billion, and we end up owing $28 billion. Because it is not what we wanted that they gave us. They gave us a problem again to go and solve. How did we use the $5 billion is important. But Rather, look at what Sukuk has done to us today. You are going everywhere and you are seeing Sukuk Road because there is an asset that is on the lane, and that underscores the economic growth. The second one is social inclusion. The moderator has mentioned to us here today about 42% of Nigerian population are unbanked. Why? Because Islam forbids interest. The only option we have are conventional banks that primarily allocate resources between the surplus unit and deficit unit on the balance of interest base. Hence, everybody stayed away. And this has brought about backwardness because staying away is not the solution. Rather, a solution, alternative is the solution because we must be actively engaged and involved in economic activities for us to be prosperous as Muslims. So, advent of faith-based financial services has brought about what we call financial inclusion. We now have Muslims having accounts. They now have access to financial services, insurance, savings, financial advice, among many more, which are pivotal to progress and prosperity of Muslim Ummah. Enhanced financial sustainability. Here, we have cost reduction. What do I mean by cost reduction? When you get loan from a conventional bank, immediately the money is credited into your account. You start paying interest, even when you have not even achieved the purpose for the loan. That's a cost. Because until that purpose is achieved, you continue to pay that interest. And until a time when the interest will even outweigh the purpose for which the loan is drawn in the first instance. That is not the case in faith-based financial service. You only become indebted once an asset, a particular purpose or essence has been delivered to you. We also look at economic inclusion. Faith-based financial services promote inclusion in banking practice, ensuring access to financial services. People who before, they don't want to go and borrow in banks to expand their business, to develop their ideas, to innovate, now can go to banks because there's a compliant faith-based financial services out there. Through the innovation of products, institutions aim to bridge the gap between the underbanked and formal financial sector, fostering economic empowerment and social mobility. Time is going, I can see that. 5 minutes. So, also, faith-based financial services also bring about risk-sharing mechanism that makes everybody have this confidence and comfort that when I go to my bank, obviously we are going to share risk and reward together. Not that I borrow loan, whether or not I'm able to succeed in my business, I must pay the interest plus capital. So there's risk-sharing mechanism. This approach also promotes financial stability, resilience, and diversifying risk, reducing the likelihood of systemic failure, contributing to overall stability of financial system that is pivotal to national development. It will interest us to know that anytime there's a recession in the world, the only institution, the only financial institution that doesn't get affected are the Gulf countries. Why? Because they are practicing faith-based financial system. And that is important for us to also imbibe in order to avert ourselves from those contagious financial problems that the former governor of Central Bank talks about, Dr. Sanusi. Let's now bring it down to specifics. We have spoken about what is faith-based. We said faith-based is a financial system that relies on the principle of Sharia. Financial services encompasses banks, insurance, capital markets, and all what's not. That is practiced on the principles and tenets of Sharia, that is without riba, interest, that is without gharar, gambling, that is without maysar, gambling, gharar, uncertainty, that is not into anything that can bring harm or disorder to our society. Now, since 2023, as the chairman address gave to us, we have been trying to put together and establish a faith-based financial institution, specifically a bank. And in 2003, as the initial capital of 2 billion was raised, Central Bank jacked it to 25 billion. And that delayed the journey from 2023 till 2011, when the bank was now able to secure a regional license with about 6 billion naira and start from northwest region of Nigeria. We now are able to have Jaiz Bank for the first time. Jaiz Bank, as a provider of faith-based financial services or Islamic banking, how has it promoted national development? How has it impacted the 5 SDG objective I mentioned, Sustainable Development Goal? We are going to measure that also through 3 major parameters. SME support. We've talked about underbanked, underserved population that was estimated to be about 42 million of Nigerians. We have adopted our MSME product to support businesses, artisans, women, any form of business that people do. Also, advent of Jaiz, collaboration of Jaiz, assisted CBN of Nigeria to bring about CBN intervention that are Sharia compliant. The law establishing Central Bank of Nigeria allows it only to trade and do its business on interest-based. Hence, most of the intervention funds that are available, Muslims cannot actually participate. They can't access, they can't benefit. But with the advent of Jaiz, Central Bank of Nigeria was able to come up with intervention funds, about 9 of them, and they impacted on a lot of businesses, especially capital-intensive business. This sukuk is an opportunity for me at this podium at this time to also tell us that Jaiz Bank performed a very significant role in developing the framework, the guideline, and the principle of sukuk. We had to collaborate with Central Bank, we had to collaborate with SEC. They travel all over the world where this is being practiced to develop a guideline, because without law, this cannot actually happen. And as we go back, you see from these 3 parameters, how have we been able to bring about the 5 sustainable development goals as a bank. Who is Jaiz? Jaiz Bank is the premier financial institution in Nigeria as a bank licensed in 2003 and begin operation 6th of January 2011. Our head office currently is in Abuja, and this is our core values with acronym ETHICA: excellence, teamwork, honesty, integrity, customer service, accountability, and loyalty. We have a vision to be a leader in ethical finance in Nigeria and a mission to making life better through ethical financing. MSME banking in Nigeria, what does it entail? What are the statistics of MSME in Nigeria today? Nigeria is the largest economy in sub-Saharan Africa with about $504 billion in GDP. That is as at 2022. Small and medium enterprise contributed significantly to Nigerian economy, about 48% of our GDP. That is not negligible. It's something everybody must look out for. 96% of our GDP comes from business. Yoruba people will say, Ishe omalasheje, owori omalashela. For those that doesn't understand Yoruba, those that work and earn salary, they will only eat. Only those that trade and do business will be successful and prosperous. So, businesses in Nigeria account for 96% of our GDP. Not salary earners, not those that are just working, to get their daily bread. And 84% of our employments come from that particular segment. MSME in Nigeria has its challenge: unfriendly business environment, infrastructure bottleneck, lack of brand visibility, low managerial skill, and limited access to modern technology. Government have brought about initiative of rapid response, cash transfer, targeted credits, facility repayments, relief from a lot of agencies from the government. This is just to tell us what and how important SME is to Nigerian economy and GDP. Jaiz Bank and its involvement in SME. As of 2022, Jaiz Bank has financed over 8,500 SME business with over 22 billion. We have also a specialized product for women in SME that is called WASMI, and that also is undergoing a lot of evolution and development as we speak. We also have products like Jaffic, Jaffic Rural, and SMIDA. We collaborated with a lot of federal government agencies like SMIDAN, like DBN, like BOI, in order to be able to expand the horizon of our MSME contribution. Bank of Industry had administered 3 billion through Jaiz Bank in SME. SMIDA has also administered about 134 million through the various initiatives of the bank for SME. And also DBN had given over 5.4 billion through Jaiz Bank. Then the NADC also has done about 3 billion. The question all of us will be asking is, how is Jaiz able to interface or handshake with these institutions, whose enabling acts allows them only to trade on interest? We're able to access and collect this money through Sharia compliant instrument, which is called Mudaraba. Mudaraba is a relationship that allows fund owners or Rabul Mal to give money to Mudarib. Here, Jaiz act as the fund manager, collect the funds, and use all our Sharia compliance products, ranging from Murabaha to Ijara to Musharaka, to administer these funds to various segments and sectors of the economy for people to benefit. These are part of what we have done to encourage and expand inclusion. These are some of the results we have gotten from this initiative. Jaiz Bank got the award of the Financially Inclusive Bank of the Year in 2022. I didn't hear anybody say Allahu Akbar. Well, this became impressive. We said over 42 million Nigerians are unbanked and underserved. And yet, the first and premier Islamic bank in Nigeria is able to get award among banks that have lived over 150 years. What are they doing? So this means that the Quran that has said, "Kuntu khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nas ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar," said Muslims are the best generation that has ever visited earth. Why? Because we show the world and command the world to do what is right and forbid what is wrong. So advent of Jaiz has brought about having award of financially inclusive bank for that year. Also the same year, we got another award for commitment of financial inclusion and agricultural finance from GIZ AgFin in 2022. And for this, we have financed over 6,821 women in the rural community, and they have benefited from about 117 million. We financed the growth and empowerment of artisan leather producer, garment manufacturer, among others, in Kano State, Kebbi State, and in Oyo State, where this program is being held today. And the total we have given to that segment is 175 million. For accounts, we have been able to generate additional green account from unbanked society, which is 1,685, 12 active hubs, 670 waste, and this predominantly helps us to tackle and manage and ameliorate the challenges on sustainable environmental stability, because this particularly was targeted at recycling of waste, and that generated income for people and created employment opportunity as well. We also partner with a lot of organizations to promote agriculture, smallholder farmer, and all of that together as displayed on the screen. We have financed 2,150 smallholder farmer with 591 million, 280 smallholder farmer for a wet season with 36 million, and 1,550 women for paddy processing, and that's about 623 have assessed 141 million. I didn't hear our mother say Allahu Akbar, because these are 1,550 women we are talking about here. A lot of what we have achieved in 12 years are here, but it can only be better. No matter how good, perfect a situation can be, there can always be room for improvement. For infrastructure, which is one of the major setbacks and challenge the country is currently going through, do you know that could not be solved until the government of Nigeria imbibed one of the major key instruments of Islamic financial service, or a faith-based financial service, which is Sukuk. And if you go around Nigeria today, you continue to see Sukuk Road. Please, you can go to the next slide so that the audience can as well see what I'm seeing here. Next. Okay, so when you see this, All of us are familiar with this. When you are coming from Ilorin to Oyo, from Oyo to Ibadan, Lagos, Ibadan, everywhere you see this Sukuk road. The screen is not too clear, but the other side here, we put a kind of algorithm of how the federal government is doing and what mechanism we have provided back end to make floating of Sukuk possible. Please, sir, you permit me to go through that. One, if they want to float Sukuk that you hear and government raise fund, how does it happen? One, federal government transfer the right of land. That is, wherever infrastructure is to be held, federal government will transfer the right of that land for construction of road, hospital, or whatever it is to an SPV. SPV is a special purpose vehicle that will be incorporated. Here, it is called Federal Government Road Sukuk Company 1 PLC. That is the name of the SPV. So government will relinquish the land for that purpose to the company. The second one is that government will execute a forward lease agreement that we want to construct this land, we want you, this company, to do it, raising funds from the people with an instrument that is Sharia compliant, because that's what people will subscribe to. So they will now issue a sukuk in various denominations that people will now start to come and buy. As you are buying, the money is going into that company that is called SPV, meaning that that road belongs to all of us that participated in that sukuk activity. Because we are the owner of the road, not government this time, we are the landlord of those roads. But all of us cannot go and manage the road as landlords. So it is that company as SPV that manages. So it becomes an interface between us and federal government. So federal government's responsibility as a sovereign nation is to provide infrastructure for its citizens. So they will rent the road from the company. They will lease the road for the company. Why are they leasing the road? They are leasing the road for the use of the common citizen. Federal government will now start to pay. There will be two payments. The sukuk is tenured for a particular period, just like any landlord will put tenure to every rent service they offer. Anybody want to stay in my house now, will pay me rent for a year. If you want to stay in the house again, you pay another rent for another year. And it continue until you pack out. I bring another tenant. So federal government will put a tenure. Within that tenure, they will pay rent to every subscriber for investing in that road. And at the same time, they will purchase your equity, because you can't be landlord of that road forever. You are not government or federal government of Nigeria. So within the tenure, they will pay you rent, and ultimately they will buy the entire investment from you for the government to own it and for the rent to stop. And that is how federal government is able to achieve sukuk. In various countries of the world, United Kingdom and many advanced nations where Muslims are not majority, they have also seek help through this Islamic financial service to solve major infrastructural decadences within their society. So we will not be able to dwell more on that. That is that about sukuk. And it's important, the relevance of faith-based financial service to national development, and according to our sustainable development goal, is also infrastructure. So with this sukuk, we are able to address infrastructure development. What is the future outlook? Market expansion. I want to seek permission of the moderator to talk here. And I also want to go on statistics. The total value of banking industry in Nigeria today is in excess of 10 trillion. All the banks that are practicing Islamic finance or Islamic banking today, 4 of us, we do not account for 1%. And I'll take that one by one with the following parameters. One, in Nigeria today, this is as at 2022, the total number of accounts that we have in all banks is not more than about 36 million. Out of this 36 million, it includes the 3 accounts I have in 4 banks and all of that. But the total account that is within Islamic bank in Nigeria today is less than 5 million. What is the percentage of 5 million? It's less than 1 million. Meaning that despite the fact that Muslims are 52% of Nigerian population, we are yet to show our strength in this faith-based financial service. We have not embraced the faith-based financial service, despite the belief, despite the value proposition that we all can see. The second thing is that if you look at the capitalization of all banks in Nigeria, in fact, let's go by the new capitalization. The central bank had just issued a circular that within 24 months, all banks should go and recapitalize, and they categorize them. For international banks, they are asked to provide 500 billion. If they must retain their license within 24 months, they have to increase their capital to 500 billion. For national banks, they are asked to increase their capital to 200 billion. All Islamic banks for national license were to provide 20 billion. That is very magnanimous, right? That is very good. But how much is 20 billion in 500 billion? If those guys are able to get 500 billion and they are able to recapitalize, they can buy all the Islamic bank and keep and close and go to bed. If out of 100 naira, you lose 1 naira, will anybody cry? Nothing will happen. So it means that Muslims still need to embrace this faith-based Islamic finance in order to demonstrate our strength, our number, our faith in Allah, and also to allow the sector to progress. Part of the future outlook is that we want to diversify. Jaiz Bank is going into holding. We are going to have bank. We are going to have insurance company. We are going to have a capital asset management company. And we are going to also have a fintech company. And that is also bringing about variety of Islamic financial services to our targeted audience. In innovation, we are going into fintech, as I mentioned. We'll continue to be Sharia compliant because we can't but mention that, yes, we have Islamic Bank and everything is going on fine. We are expanding. As at end of last year, Jaiz Bank has not just crossed the minimum capital base of 20 billion, but we are also aiming and targeting the 200 billion that is given to the conventional national license holders. But we need more entrants into the space. We need more patronage from the space such that we can justify the acceptance and innovation and bringing on board of this Islamic financial institution. Also, we look towards to economic emancipation, which we can talk about economic freedom. A lot of instruments today that are not yet in existence that is limiting what we can do, we want to introduce them by continuous collaboration with Central Bank of Nigeria and the Financial Regulatory Council of Experts that are called Sharia Advisor to bring about all those products. In conclusion, we have demonstrated that faith-based, otherwise known as Islamic finance, which includes Islamic banking, ethical and Sharia compliance alternative to conventional bank, derive its source from Sharia, and Sharia has also given us 5 objectives. Objective which is to protect our faith, to protect our lives, to protect our intellect, to encourage and foster common prosperity, all of which we said align with all the 5 key objectives of sustainable development goal. The services offered by Islamic financial institution contribute immensely to national development by promoting financial inclusion, stability, ethical investment, and infrastructural development, like Sukuk for Sukuk Road that we mentioned, and among many others. We narrow it down to specific financial institution, a specific Islamic financial institution, which is Jaiz Bank, that is the leading premium Islamic bank in Nigeria that has exemplified the impact of faith-based financial services in economic growth and social development as presented. Call to action. Embracing faith-based service for national development cannot be overemphasized. The Quran says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. We are tired of having to woo sentiments in order to attract customers. Jaiz Bank is bringing value, but note that anytime you patronize faith-based financial service, you are not just trying to solve a problem, you are not just trying to enjoy a service, but you are also obeying commandment of Allah. And Allah says, if you don't do, if you will not follow my commandment, I'll take you all away and bring those that will replace you, who will do as I wish, who will love me as I love them, and they will do and excel far better than you. I believe this generation, we want mercy and rahmah of Allah. We want His blessing in everything we do. The call to action here is for us to improve and increase our patronage for faith-based financial service. Let us ask ourselves, can there be peace? Can there be progress? Can there be prosperity without even us being faith-based in all aspects of our life? The answer is no. For us to enjoy the peace of Allah, prosperity of Allah, for us to earn His rahmah both here and hereafter, we must be faith-based, not just on financial services, but all aspects of our life. Embracing and supporting initiatives by institutions like Jaiz Bank will foster economic growth, empower communities, and promote sustainable development. And lastly, by choosing faith-based financial services, we contribute to building a more inclusive, resilient, ethically driven financial ecosystem that benefits the society as a whole. Thank you all for giving me this privilege to be before you, make this presentation. I'm very honored and privileged. Thank you very much. Any questions and comments?
Takbir. Thank you very much, Brother Taofeeq Mustapha, for the brilliant presentation. I was in an awkward situation yesterday when my sister Miriam Lemo was, delivering a talk. The talk was and time was running out, and we're like, okay, should we keep giving her all the time, or we stop the inspirational talk she was giving? And then today we found a situation again where people wanted to listen more, but we are pressed for time. Members of the audience eavesdropped into me saying, please give him 10 more minutes to speak. Not knowing that we deliberately avoided reading the citation to gain like 2-3 minutes. and now, but my suggestion to all key stakeholders, MULAN, communities of different states, Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, and then maybe some other entities like financial services providers will be, this is an important topic that we cannot discuss in 30 minutes, 1 hour, and say we've done justice to it. We probably will need a weekend retreat, a Saturday, Sunday combined, where all of us will sit again and thrash all of the issues involved. We're not up to 1,500 here. We do not represent all the Muslims in Nigeria. And those are the people who truly need the message. Not probably you, not I, but those people out there that need the message should get it. So I'll implore MULAN, Jaiz can collaborate, people who can speak to religious leaders can reach out to them. We need to have a bigger talk on this topic. Thanks a lot once again, my brother Mustapha Taofeeq, for the brilliant presentation. Without much time wasting, I would like to invite my father, Dr. Dawood Amoo Alaga. I can drag him around, he said, Daddy. So 15 minutes is what I'm going to give you. I want all of us to have enough time under the Q&A so that most of the issues that you probably want to thrash, we will be able to exhaust them during question and answer. Thank you very much, sir.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم ربي زدني علما وفهما. I stand on existing protocol because time is not on our side, and I want to say as a preliminary remark that I feel most honored to be invited there. The legal profession is not an ordinary profession. Even people have accomplished intellectually elsewhere, they still want to study law because it is an elitist profession. And I have this caveat. I always say, as Muslims, we have not reached our destination, but we are far from where we used to be. 20, 30 years back, I don't think that those of you who are now belongable to this prestigious profession, we have as many of you in that profession at that time. That is why I say that as Muslims, we have not reached our destination, but we are far from where we used to be. Alhamdulillah. Well, that was a financial person to the core. I can say I'm an academic to some extent, but more of a comparative analyst. And I want to see this issue majorly from a religious perspective. Majorly from religious perspective. Now we are discussing something that is inherent in Islam in modern time, and which is not a new creation, shows that Islam, like I always say, is divine, it is not designed. If Islam were to be designed, all these talks, analysis, and the rest, which our dear brother, erudite person no doubt, has just enunciated, will not be drawn from the template of Islam. And to show that when you are talking as a comparative analyst, I was discussing with a Christian, and that Christian, he placed me in the penalty box. He said, I want to ask you a question that will be difficult for you to answer. I said, come up with the question. And honestly, it was a naughty one. He said, you posited that the Quran has something to say about everything. I now want to ask my question. And what was his question? Penalty-like question. He said, if I want to become a baker, making bread, and I purchase a 50 kilogram of flour, how many 50 naira worth of bread can I get from that? I said, I never told you I'm a baker. He said, come off that. You have said that this your Quran has something to say on everything. Give me answer from this Quran. And I just decided to act like this typical program, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. If you recall that program. Anytime a naughty question is posed to any of the participants and you could not answer, to unravel the mystery, you'll be asked to call a friend. I then decided to call a friend who is a baker. After giving me the answer, I now passed the answer to him. And he said, did you get that from your Quran? And I then told him retortingly, that answer, which I've just given you, the guideline I use in obtaining the answer is contained in the Quran. It says where? I said Quran chapter 21 verse 6. Wherein Allah says, if there is anything you don't know, ask from those who know. And honestly, that settles the question. When you are talking along the line of Islam, I'm always happy that I'm a Muslim. When you are talking along the line of financial services, the bedrock of Islamic financial system, by my understanding and explanation, is contained in Quran chapter 59 verse 7. When Allah says, لِكَيْ لَا يَدُونَ دُولَةً بَيْنَ الْأَغْنِيَاءِ مِنْكُمْ. It is meant to check possessive and acquisitive tendencies of the rich. We know that interest is not congruent with equal distribution of income. Any interest-based transaction will hurt somebody and profit another person. And that is the essence of prohibition of interest in Islam. There are so many verses of the Quran which talk against interest. Quran chapter 2, verse 275. Allah says, those who take interest, they are likened to those afflicted by Satan, and they are comparable to mad people. Allah progresses further in Quran chapter 2, verse 276. Any transaction that has to do with interest is deprived or rob of all blessings from Allah. And Allah says He does not like the ungrateful and wicked people. It then means by implication that those who transact businesses based on interest, they could be called wicked. And for us to know the extent of the prohibition of interest in Islam, we read from the Hadith. Interest taking is grouped along with what they call al-kabair, major sins in Islam. Major sins like shirk, major sins like murder, major sins like witchcraft, major sins like harassment of a parent, major sin like witchcraft, major sin like theft. And I don't want us to be particularistic along the line of Islam only. We say faith-based. Islam is not the only faith-based religion we have in Nigeria, particularly. And we have coterminous references from the Christian Bible, which also prohibit interest taking, interest receiving. For example, we have Exodus chapter 22, verse 5, which says, and I am quoting verbatim, if you lend money to any of my people who is poor, don't take interest. And the Bible progresses further in Psalm chapter 15, verse 2. Giving the attributes of people who could be called righteous. The Bible now says in Psalm chapter 15, verse 2. It says, those who give out loan without charging interest are people of God. It means that in Nigeria here, you know, majorly we are Muslims and Christians. We have other believers, but Muslims and Christians are the predominant majority. In Islam, a Muslim is an entity within a collectivity, and the entity and the collectivity, they are mutually reinforcing. They are not mutually exclusive. And that is the essence of the hadith. La yu'minu ahadukum hatta yuhibba li akhihi ma yuhibbu li nafsihi. None of you can become a good Muslim until it is that which you wish for yourself that you wish for other people. So when we are talking along the line of interest taking, interest receiving, as Muslims, we must not be out to hurt anybody. Like my brother did quote, Quran chapter 3, verse 110. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nas ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. You are the best of community, evolved for mankind, commanding what is good and forbidding what is evil. And there is a follow-up to that verse of the Quran in Quran chapter 28, verse 77. So that will cause us. Wherein Allah says, وَابْتَغِ فِي مَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ دَارَ الْآخِرَةَ وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا فَأَحْسِنْ كَمَا أَحْسَنَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكَ وَلَا تَبْغِ الْفَسَادَ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُفْسِدِينَ. That is, seek with whatever Allah has endowed you with, the home of the hereafter. And in doing that, do not forget your own share of the world. And that is the essence of what is contained in Quran chapter 2, verse 201. The biggest prayer of the Muslim. Rabbana atina fi dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban. As Muslim, we must always be empathetic, thinking of what will benefit the society. And while we are doing that one, it means that everything we are going to be doing must be Sharia compliant, including our financial transactions. My dear brothers and sisters, a little set of people in Nigeria, may Allah continue to bless you. When we are talking along the line of the essence of this one to national development, I have said a Muslim is an entity within a collectivity. Everything that we do as Muslims, all the rituals of Islam, have one lesson to teach us or the other. For example, Salat is best performed in congregation. As an individual, if I perform my salat individually, I have only one reward. But here, if I have the opportunity of performing the salat congregationally, honestly, the reward is geometrical. I have 27 reward. It then means that Muslims must not do anything that will injure the happiness of the society. And you know, when you are talking along the line of interest, one of the bane of interest is that somebody will be happy, another one will be sad. Will be happy, another person will be sad. So when we now want to link this to national development, I think beyond Islamic banking, we now have cooperative societies all over the place. And I think we should walk along the line of preponderance of these cooperative societies. The cooperative society are doing so well. Welfare package, which will make anyone realize what is contained in the Maslow theory of hierarchy of needs. And the highest point of Maslow hierarchy of need is esteem and self-actualization. The welfare packages provided by so many of these cooperative societies today have made so many of our brothers happy. And as important and critical segment of the Nigerian society, Muslims, when we are happy, part of the country is also happy. So when we want to use this one to develop the nation, there should be preponderance of Islamic cooperative societies. The Islamic progressive societies, they are progressing so well, so much and so well, to the extent that non-Muslims in UAE and now so many other working places, non-Muslims, particularly Christians, they envy them. They want to join them. As Muslims, we are not limited in imagination, but we are dynamic in disposition as Muslims. I think there should be convocation of brainstorming session, just like the anchor person I just said now. After this session, we will have to discuss this particular topic and come out with something very useful to each and every one of us. And one key element of financial provision in Islam is zakat. Zakat, if as Muslims we work towards emplacement of zakat, deepening the culture of zakat, honestly, so many things will be good for us. Many of our people don't pay zakat. Our chairman for today, Alhaji Sanusi son, he leads a group which gives out zakat on yearly basis. The highest amount realizable from that, if I'm not mistaken, over the years is around 3 million. And he will be the person who will be the principal, he will be the principal donor in most cases. How do we resuscitate and deepen the culture of zakat even more so? Today, you know, everything about religion in Nigeria is not politicized. We have many of our traders, petty traders in the market. They go out to obtain these Shylock loans. I've forgotten what they call it. Bamulilanta. Non-Yoruba speaking people will not understand. They call it Ilakpo. When they obtain the loan, they undergo excruciating pain to pay it. They go to the extent of locking people who default, locking them up in the toilet to punish them so that he will have to pay on a willy-nilly basis. So we need brainstorming session. And when we are talking along the line of elitist people, in communication we were taught the medium is the message. The message is, you cannot divorce the message from the messenger. the messenger dictates and determines the essence and the importance and viability of any message. As elitist group, I think you have to play the role of advocacy in sensitizing our people to their obligation, particularly the privileged ones. And I want to say, because I know here, we are now so blessed. Many of you are not just ordinary lawyers. You are even Sharia lawyers. As Sharia lawyers, you appreciate more the importance of zakat and the advantages we can garner from zakat. So advocacy is very, very important at your own level here. And honestly, it will pay off. Many of our rich people, they don't pay zakat because they rather pay sadaqah. They don't want people to know the extent of their wealth. And that's one of the reasons why they don't pay. When we are talking along the line of the Bible also support not taking interest, not receiving interest. What do I want to draw out from that one? Today, the Christians and the Muslims, there is that inherent conscious and unconscious rivalry. Let us make the Christians to know, like Alhaji Taofeeq rightly identified, that Islamic banking is not about Islamization. And that is the essence of the having preponderance of non-Muslims, particularly from Southeast, banking with a Jaiz bank. If they know this one, honestly, the type of acrimony they always raise up anytime anything that has to do with Islamic banking is concerned, they are likely to drop it. You will recall that during the time of President Muhammad Buhari, the sukuk was utilized to construct critical roads. I recall that when some Christians were raising a lot of allegations against that one, thinking that that one equal to Islamization, it was the then Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who incidentally is also a pastor in one of the notable churches in Nigeria, who said, if you think they want to Islamize Nigeria through emplacement or utilization of sukuk, bring up something that will make you Christianize Nigeria. And from that, they went in communicado. I don't want to take much of your time because my brother had addressed this issue so conclusively. Our Muslim brothers and sisters, we need to harmonize obtainable requirement in the Quran and obtainable requirement in the Christian Bible and synergize so that we can make progress for the benefit of respective citizens of this country. As Muslims, when you are talking along the line of poverty, we are the most afflicted. And we need to do something substantial, something reasonable to ensure that we came out of this bad weather. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, I have to appreciate you for giving me this opportunity to be here today. And I think that the little I have said, along with what Alhaji Taofeeq Mustapha has said, will be quite beneficial. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much.
Asakbir.
Allahu Akbar. Thank you very much for the beautiful presentation. So without much time wasting, we'll go into Q&A. Our time is fast spent, but we'll still take questions. Okay, hold on a second.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We thank Vintage Dr. Amoo Alaga for that incisive message. While the lecture was going on, some of our eminent guests joined us. We have here present the General Secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association, in person of, he is Abdulwahid, but he prefers to be known as Adeshino Adegbite. So I would say Abdulwahid Adeshino Adegbite. Atakbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Just behind him is the National Publicity Secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association, Habib Lawal. Atakbir.
Allahu Akbar.
As well, we have the chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association Security Agencies Committee and the former chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association, Lagos branch, Lanet Silk Chukwuka Ikwazon, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Atakbir, thank you for your presence.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mr. Adegbite is here to stand in for our national president. Thank you so much. At the appropriate time, we'll break in.
Well, with the permission of the chair, because our time is fast spent, I have been instructed that we will only take 2 questions from this session.
Yeah,
so
we can see one hand here already.
One hand. And
a female, okay.
Okay, one
I
hand.
Think they should reach a consensus. There are 2 hands.
There are 2 hands,
which
probably.
hand we are taking. We already figured out which hand we are taking here. That's the first one from the back.
No. Okay. Should we tell you to reach a consensus too? But it's just 2.
One here, one here.
So you asked yesterday.
So let me go to the sisters first. Someone can grab me along the way.
You had the opportunity yesterday, so please. You two had the opportunity yesterday, so please. You are homegrown, so let's take from the back.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
May I beg to stand on the existing protocols. Good morning, everyone. Mine is just a suggestion. While the speaker, from the person that spoke about Islamic banking, spoke, something crossed my mind. I know that other banks go to places, communities, schools, to get customers. And for Jaiz Bank, I don't know whether they have such package in place. So my suggestion is that Jaiz Bank could start with this community of lawyers to try to get us as customers. They could simply find an avenue or do a package wherein they can just make us their customers. I don't know how they do these things, but I know that there was a time Stanbic Bank was going from school to get students to register for free. They didn't need to pay money to have their accounts opened. In fact, they were using their numbers, as in their phone numbers. My daughter's phone number was actually used in ABU as her account number. So if Jaiz Bank could do that, MULAN is well represented. They could start from us in all the states of the Federation. And I'm sure that will encourage us to own accounts and to be their customers. So that's my token.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please step forward. Step forward.
Which side?
Okay, it's coming. Sorry, let's have someone from the back today.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All protocols duly observed. Muhammad Miftahu Bello is my name from MULAN Kano branch. Now my question goes to the second to the last speaker who spoke on the Islamic banking. Now in course of the presentation, he did say that the roots of system emanated from Abrahamic law. And while saying that, he referred to Islam, Christianity, Judaism, theism, atheism, and all the themes. Now the question goes this way. How do we juxtapose this explanation with the saying of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Noble Quran? ما كان إبراهيم يهوديا ولا نصرانيا ولكن كان حنيفا مسلما وما كان من المشركين. That Ibrahim was never Yahudian, a Jew, wala Nasraniyan, nor a Christian, walakin, save that, kana hanifan Musliman. He was a Muslim who practices the true Islamic monotheism as of polytheism. Now, how do we juxtapose that explanation with this verse? Thank you very much.
Jazakumullah. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
I love the challenge of the last question. And I want you to know that during my presentation, I was only trying to tell us that the topic brings about faith-based financial services. And as of today, if the presentation is going to be enriched to be more encompassing, we must know that there are other faiths who as well oppose the conventional financial services. That does not by any means say that Islamic financial services emanate from Christianity or Judaism or Buddhism or whatever zim, as I earlier mentioned. Now, it's important you also know that during the course of my presentation, the faith base was narrowed down only to Islamic financial, and it was also attributed to Sharia. And I also made it clear that even though Christianity, as also referred to by Alhaji Amoo, Alaga, that there are verses in the Bible that also oppose interest, yet there's no constructive structure that can be practiced by anyone in the world today. So I agree fully with you that Islamic finance, Islamic bank has its sole base from Islam that is rooted and founded in Sharia. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don't worry, there is another salvo coming from the back towards you. The question is, when we go to other conventional commercial banks, we get charged interest 15%, 18%, 21% on some products. And we run away and come to Jaiz. But Jaiz charges us more. Why? Why that?
Thank you very much. Please let me quickly react to the question from our sisters. Opening accounts in Jaiz today is challenged, cumbersome, stressful. We also understand this challenge, and we want people to bear with us. It's just like we have just one boss that is going to go from UI here to Dugbe, just one boss. And there are 1,000 of us, and the bus is just 28 passenger bus. What do you think will happen? Everybody will scramble, everybody will want to, some will get, some will not get. It doesn't mean that that bus is not efficient. What it simply means is not yet enough. We started with a regional license with just 3 branches, and today we have 51 branches. And I can still tell you we are yet less than enough. We understand the pain a lot of people go through. It pains us more than you because we are the one losing. We are the one that ordinarily should catch, should grow, expand quicker. And we are doing everything within our power to even launch for people to open their account online. But we also must know that banking is heavily regulated against money laundering, anti-terrorism, and all of that. KYC, know your customer. So if you open an account and all these things are not complete, they will come to us, the regulator, provide this account document. If it's not complete, now the fine is about 2 million per customer. So if on the grid of we want to get as many customers as possible, we open 100 and they are non-compliant, we already know what the numbers are. We take the feedback and inshallah we are working tirelessly on it and you see improvement in due course. The second question. Conventional bank charge 15%, they charge 5%, and Jaiz Bank is charging. It was the moderator that squeezed me into not able to explain that clearly because the time was too short. But now that this question has come, it presents the opportunity. A conventional bank can charge you, there's something we call prime lending rate. The Monetary Policy Committee sits every three months. Depending on the economic situation, they agree on what the rate should be. That rate is what we benchmark to determine our prices, mark prices. If we don't benchmark that, we'll be destroying value because the inflation in the economy also is going pari passu with that rate. And hence, if somebody go and place 100 million in a bank and they are giving interest of 15%, and you do Mudaraba with Jaiz Bank, at the end of the day, you will still calculate what does the profit come down to in percentage, ROI. And you see that what you are getting in return, at the end of the day, they give me is just 6%. What's going on here? So, first, a conventional bank is able to vary its rates. Hence, when they give you offer letter, they will put it there, this rate is subject to monetary policy rates. We will give you notice of 7 days at the event of change of increase to pay us down or continue to service your facility at the new rate. There is no conventional bank that give you facility that will not put that clause. Why? You can enter at 15% and you end up at 30%. They'll just send you a letter. Monetary policy has met and they have increased. So in the last 6 months, they've increased 3 times this year. And in the last, yes, they've increased 3 times. From 18 to 22, from 22 to 24.75. And they would have been advising their customer. How does Islamic banking does its pricing? You know, I said pricing. When we do facility, like all the products I presented to you, Quran specifically mentioned when it forbids riba, the first option he brought is buy and sell. So when we give facility, beyond that we don't give you cash, we are doing buy and sell with you. The rate is priced, i.e. cost of purchase plus the markup of the bank. Nobody discussed price 2 times, meaning that we cannot reprice. When monetary policy is going up from 18 to 22, we can't change our price. When inflation is going up from 29 to 35, we can't still change our price. So when we are doing facility with people, we try to maintain a moderate cost that will not hurt or push us out of business. So if I may answer again, if a conventional bank brings you in today, we face competition every day. There was a university that I went to build hostel, and we offered them at 18%. The bank they were using before brought 18%. When we said our own, we can't change it, they said they can even go as low as 16%. And I told the bossa and the VC, you can start even with 11%. But the tenure of this facility is 5 years. You can end up at 35. The choice is yours. So because Jaiz Bank does not deal in interest, we deal in price. And that price cannot be renegotiated, cannot be discussed twice. So we try to maintain a moderate cost that will not push us out of business. I hope there's another opportunity to do a better explanation than this. Thank you.
Jazakumullah. Thank you very much, sir.
Ibrahim, too. Price, interest, management fee. What's the difference between or among all these terms? Money is involved. Why shouldn't we go and open our bank?
No problem.
The law allows us to give out about 90% of our customers' deposits.
You know you are a polyglot. Once you bring the money from France, Italy, I'm here. I will know how it will be managed.
Alhamdulillah. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to proceed to the next item on the agenda, which is the presentation
of awards.
The first person to receive the award is the chairman of this session, Alhaji Lasun.
And to do us the honors to present him, we call on the General Secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association, Abdulwahid Adeshino Adegbite to present the chairman of today's session. To do the presentation on behalf of the National President, YC Mekiao, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, of the President. Our leader, the chairman, Alhaji Lasun Sanusi, sir. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You know, when you have members of your association who are not just leaders in the profession, but they are leaders who are doing you proud, you must make very good use of them. And I'm happy that MULAN, they made fit to bring out our Baba, our leader, not just in MULAN, but in the profession, to share this very important session. And that knowledge he displayed in the course of moderating the session, because he started by actually giving us what I felt was the real lecture. And most of us benefited immensely from the presentation by our father and our leader, who not just is a distinguished legal practitioner, but a senior advocate of Nigeria, and of course, a leader by excellence. I, on behalf of Muslim Lawyers Association of Nigeria, present this plaque, which is actually in recognition of your chairmanship of this session, and of course, your esteemed contributions towards the success of the 2024 Annual General Conference of MULAN being held here in Ibadan. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you all. I appreciate MULAN. And it is my prayer and wish that MULAN will continue to work stronger and stronger. Before I sit down, I want to clear some confusion. This session was to start around 8:30. But unfortunately, because of some logistic problems, it didn't start on time. So by the time it was to start, I had already even left my seat. When I came back, because of time constraint, some people told me they have done the recognition protocols, and our referred guests have taken their seat. This is why I went straight to my opening comment. But when I sat down again, some were saying, no, so had not been recognized. As I thought the MC had done that. But if it had not been done truly, I think I should apologize on behalf of MULAN. Even if it had been done, we have duty and obligation to appreciate our guests. My Lord, the JCA, we appreciate your Lordship and thank your Lordship and beseech Almighty Allah to take your effort as a great act of ibadah, that will be accordingly rewarded on this planet and on the day of Qiyamah. So also our other noble lords. I don't, because of time, I know there is still one I want to make, but I'm taking the opportunity that I should make closing remark to make this appreciation now, so that I don't have to come and take your time again after the second award will have been given. My noble lords from Oyo State High Court, the Customary Court of Appeal, Oyo State, honorable judges from the Osun State Judiciary, we appreciate you all. Our colleagues from NBA, the retired, I'm seeing the cowboy retired Justice Akambi from the Osun Customary Court of Appeal. He appeared like a cowboy today, pretending, and he went through the back door, thinking we will not recognize him. We are most welcome. Our guest lecturer of yesterday, you are warmly welcome. Our judges from Osun, Justice Akanwo, Justice Lawal, and so on, you are most welcome. Our judges from Oyo State and representative of the Chief Judge of Oyo State, you are all welcome. We thank you for the support. We can only beg Allah to take it as a very great act of ibadah and reward you accordingly. Inshallah, Allah will help of all of us to be inmate of Al-Jannah Firdaus, so that we will have opportunity to reunion and the Al-Jannah Firdaus on the day of Qiyamah. Inshallah, ikudratillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakumullah khairan.
Wa yakum. Atakbir. Thank you very much, our father. Our time is fast spent, and majorly we'll go to the second presentation of award. That's to Dr. Amoo Alaga, and to do us the honors, we'll call on my Lord Honorable Justice G.A. Sumonu to do us the honors of presenting the award to Dr. Amoo Alaga.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I have the honor to present this in recognition of the contribution of Alhaji Amoo Alaga, PhD, towards the success of this 2024 Ibadan Annual General Conference of the Muslim Lawyers Association of Nigeria. We thank him for the lecture, and may Allah continue to increase him in knowledge and piety.
Amen. Jazakumullah khairan.
Jazakumullahu khairan.
Wa yakum. Thank you very much, my lords. We are indeed very grateful. To present the divisional head, Alhaji Taofeeq Mustapha, his award, we call on my lord, the president of the Customary Court of Appeal, Oyo State, my lord Honorable Justice T.M. Abdul Ghani, to do us the honors of presenting the divisional head, Alhaji Taofeeq Mustapha. Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Well, on behalf of the Muslim Lawyers Association of Nigeria, I hereby present you this token in recognition of your contribution towards the success of the conference of the Muslim Lawyers Association of Nigeria 2024 held in Ibadan. I say congratulations.
Takbir. Jazakumullah, sir.
We are cancelling so many things on the programs. So, day 3, Abi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're deeply sorry. We are far behind time. And for that reason, so many things will be taken as done. Far from the opening dua, the address of Mr. President has already been read yesterday. Okay.
With kind permission of the chairman, this session will come to a close, and we start with prayers. Would end it with prayers. We call on Mr. Adam Oloriaje to come and give us a closing prayer. Thank you, sir.
اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا واشرح لنا صدورنا وطيب لنا مرغوبنا وقل لنا حوائجنا وادفع عنا شرور اعدائنا وثبت اقدامنا ولا تفتنا في ديننا واتم باحسنات اعمالنا واتنا في الدنيا حسنه وفي الاخره حسنه وقنا عذاب النار سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك ونشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك سبحان ربك رب العزه عما يصفون والصلاة والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Jazakumullah. Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
So this session is officially has come to a close. So the chairman has some announcements.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The session has been closed and we are about to start our main section of the program. Our guest lecturer has been in sync. We will not go back to those things that we have done yesterday. And after national anthem, the opening dua, then we move into the opening address by the chairman, His Excellency, the Governor of Niger State, who has been duly represented here, before citation of the speaker and the keynote address. So this session has come to an end. We thank our guest. Further announcement will be made about our guests that we take over from them. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. We have like 5 minutes to stretch our body, and then we will reconvene in 5 minutes. Immediately? No, let people move around. Yeah, 5 minutes to stretch your body, and then we will reconvene in 5 minutes, inshallah.